My sister threw away my wedding invitations, then tried to play victim. When Dad complained, I showed how she ignored it. And watched him crumble. It smells like cinnamon and pine, yet the scent of the green estate may just as easily be formaldehyde. My fingers are grasping a cream-colored present box, wrapped in silk ribbon, as I stand in the middle of the living room, marveling at the contents. A lifetime VIP subscription to Last Chance Love. An app specifically targeted at overwhelmingly desperate individuals. A hardcover book titled How to Find Happiness When You Die Alone with raised gold lettering was located underneath it. A.T. The marble fireplace behind me is roaring with flames. The well-kept grounds are covered with heavy, silent sheets of snow outside the French windows. However, the cold in this room has nothing to do with December. Sophia chuckles. Sharp and loud, the sound reverberates like shattered glass off the vaulted ceiling, with a falsely beautiful voice. My sister says, I saw it on TikTok. The reviews were outstanding. For women who have given up on conventional dating, I offer it 5 stars. I'm not looking up. I can't stop looking at that awful pink app card with the cartoon image of a withering flower that is meant to symbolize ladies like me. Women, who are said to be dead. Accept it, my love. The room echoes with my mother's speech. Isabella Green appears to be carved from the same marble as the fireplace, as she sits on the ivory settee. All Sophia is concerned about is your future. Don't let your pride to make you a spinster for life. My dad remains silent. Charles Green is standing close to the bar cart, swirling bourbon in a crystal tumbler, and examining the amber liquid as if it contained answers he didn't want to tell me. William Moore, his business partner, moves uneasily in the leather seat next to him. Sophia's fiancé, Ethan Carter, looks at his phone with quick, serious attention. I shut the box, slowly. Something seems like it's breaking open inside my chest, but my hands don't shake. 6 months. I spent 2 evenings at my Austin dining table, choosing the ideal cardstock and hand-tying velvet ribbons, before sending those invites 6 months ago. High milligrams. The kind that, when you hold it, whispers quality. With his arms folded and a cautious gaze, Jacob had observed me from the doorway. Are you certain you don't have to give them a call? He had inquired. My fingers worked the silk into a flawless bow as I smoothed another ribbon. They are my parents. This would not be missed. I can't get the memory out of my throat. Staring at those 2 empty front row seats. One for Mom and one for Dad. I had postponed the ceremony for 30 minutes. My mother had previously stated that she liked daisies, therefore I painted the signs myself on little wooden plaques adorned with wildflowers. 5 years have passed since then. However, I do recall everything they forgot. I recall. Okay? Sophia's golden hair falls in a deliberate tumble over one shoulder as she leans forward on the couch. Her 2-carat diamond engagement ring, which cost more than my entire wedding, catches the firelight. Will you not express gratitude? The words are stuck in my throat. A part of me wants to yell, like I've done countless times before. I want to dash out those enormous oak doors, drive back to the airport, and take a plane home to Austin, where Jacob is most likely reheating leftover Thai food, and wondering how I'm doing. However, I'm exhausted from running. The throat of William Moore is cleared. With a deliberately bland tone, he offers that we might proceed to supper. I think the dining room is prepared by the caterers. Sophia's smile gets bigger. She is aware that she has prevailed this time. She does it every time. But something inside of me doesn't shatter this time. It breaks, not my heart, which has been splintering in our household, ever since I became old enough to realize that certain kids are cherished while others are put up with. No. It's the harder object that breaks. I've been carrying these chains for 29 years. The ones with the titles of good daughter and second best. And perhaps if you put in more effort. I glance up, my gaze locks with Sophia's, and I see her victorious face waver just a bit. She doesn't recognize something in my face. Something icy, tidy, and definitive. I say, thank you, Sophia. My voice sounds smooth, almost pleasant. I'll take great care of this. Holding the box to my ribs like proof, I slip it under my arm, because that is precisely what it is. Green, Isabella, frowns. Don't be theatrical, Megan. It's merely a considerate present. Yes, I am aware. I grin. I feel like I'm wearing someone else's mouth because of the peculiar expression on my face. It's really valuable and considerate. At last, Charles turns to face me, his gray brows furrowing. Megan, it serves as a warning, he said, in the same tone, that perhaps, just possibly, Sophia shouldn't have a BMW for her first automobile. when I had been given a 7-year-old Toyota when I was 16. It's a tone that says, don't make a scene. Don't embarrass us. Don't exist too loudly in spaces meant for your sister to shine. I look him in the eye. Yes, father? He turns back to his bourbon after opening and closing his mouth. Ethan Carter shoves his phone into his jacket pocket and stands up suddenly. He murmurs, I need some air, and moves toward the French doors that open onto the patio. At last, Sophia's smile breaks. It's chilly outside, Ethan. With a dejected sigh, Ethan turns back to join the procession to the dining room, as he pauses at the patio doors, where the cold air is rushing in. However, he has already left, and I realize something at that same moment. He feels uneasy. He ought to be. Any good person would be. Should we? With a stiff set of shoulders that betrays his anxiety, William points to the dining room. The white linen tablecloth is covered in diamond patterns from the dining room chandelier. The sound of Isabella tapping her spoon on her crystal water glass pierces the quiet of courteous talk like a dagger. My mother says, I want to toast this very special season, the year of the bride, in an audience-pleasing voice. Before we start. Sophia's practiced smile blossoms across her face as I watch her straighten in her chair, as if she's been waiting for this cue all her life. Isabella, my youngest daughter, goes on, pointing with her wine glass at Sophia. This February, we will tie the knot in what I can only characterize as a contemporary royal wedding with high chum numwe guests. It took 6 months to design the clothing for the Four Seasons ballroom. Ethan moves next to Sophia, his jaw clenched. With the focus of an archaeologist studying an item, William Moore examines his salad fork. Isabella continues. Sophia has always known how to do things properly, and the word properly hits me like a slap, gracefully. Taking family into account. In agreement, my father raises his bourbon. Since we sat down, he hasn't given me a glance. I started eating my filet mignon. My hand feels fused to the handle, but the knife cuts through the meat with hardly any resistance. Isabella clicks gently to put down her drink. She turns to face me, and I can see the sparkle in her eyes. Her performance is coming up. With a tone full of fake worry, she declares that Sophia is at ease. But Megan, how about you? You're getting close to 30. You can't expect to live with plants indefinitely. Can you? There is silence at the table. Even the caterers appear to freeze in the middle of a downpour, as they refill water glasses by the sideboard. When will it be your turn? Isabella queries. Like smoke. The question lingers in the air. Ethan's gaze darts to and from me. William does not speak, but he clears his throat. If you didn't know Sophia, her expression might pass for sisterly interest, but I do. She leans forward a little. The fingers wrap around the wine stem, and I can see the excitement in them. She's waiting for me to lose it, to stumble, to justify myself by saying that I should be concentrating on my work or that I haven't found the right person yet. The clatter of metal on porcelain is louder than it should be, so I put down my silverware. Mother, I'm not unmarried. The remarks sound steady and composed, like I'm making a weather statement. Isabella blinks. I'm sorry. It has been 6 months since my marriage. In 2 seconds, my mother's face changes into 3 different expressions. Bewildered, incredulous, angry, and dishonest. Before she can stop herself, the word bursts from her mouth. The cutlery rattles as her hand slams into the table. Why would nobody be aware of this? Did you elope in secret in Vegas? Is it the reason you have been so aloof? In Vegas, I didn't elope. Although Sophia's face has turned pale. She gets better quickly. She does it every time. Are you fabricating tales to spoil my engagement celebration? Her voice breaks just right, striking that delicate balance between hurt and disbelief. Megan, even if you've always been envious of me, this is pitiful. Her hand finds Preston's arm as she turns to face him. Is this unbelievable? However, Preston's lawyer's mind is obviously working on calculations I can't quite read as he looks at me. I say I sent out invitations. The pitch of my voice hasn't changed. I sound almost bored. Which is odd because my heart feels like it's trying to get out by banging against my ribs. In February. By FedEx. Overnight. The bourbon sloshes over the rim, when my father's glass strikes the table. Why didn't you call if you sent out invitations and didn't hear back? The vein in his temple is pulsating, and his face is flushed. Did you intentionally do this? To make this family look bad in front of the Moors? There it is. The answer I didn't want to see, despite the fact that the evidence was piling up around me like snow against a door, is the truth I've been thinking about for 6 months. They remembered. I'm being gaslighted by them. Now. In front of observers. While I sit here with the receipts they are unaware of. I am rewriting history. The final strand of hope I'd been holding on to, the one I wasn't even aware I had left, dissolves. I feel a change in my chest. The part of me that can read blueprints, calculate load-bearing walls, and pinpoint the precise location of pressure required for a structure to fail takes over. This is the architect in me. I give up using my feelings to defend myself. My feelings are unimportant to them. Never have they. I slip my phone out of my handbag and hide it beneath the table, concealed by the white linen. My thumb locates the thread of messages with Jacob. I type a single word. Right now. After being delivered, the message is read. As if nothing had happened, I placed the phone away and resumed using my fork to stab a piece of asparagus. Megan. There's a dangerous aspect to my mother's voice now. The one that used to make me rush to my bedroom as a child. Put an end to this foolishness, and offer your sister an apology. For what purpose? I munch into some asparagus. It has no taste at all. For marriage? For asking my relatives to attend my wedding? Which aspect requires an apology? Tears that have not yet fallen are shining in Sophia's eyes. She's skilled at keeping them just on the brink of illumination. That you would lie about anything like this is unbelievable. On the eve of Christmas. Christmas Eve. I'm telling the truth. Then demonstrate it. My dad loses his temper. Across the table, I look him in the eye. All right. William Moore moves about in his chair, obviously wishing he were somewhere else. Preston's lawyer instincts have finally caught up with what his gut has been telling him, and he has become very still next to Sophia. My wedding band is caught in the chandelier above us. I have worn it the entire time. They didn't even notice. In 15 minutes, dessert will be prepared. Ignorant of the tension that is resonating throughout the room like static electricity, one of the caterers makes an announcement from the doorway. Once, my phone buzzes against my thigh. Jacob texted. The system was accessed. When you're ready, it's ready. Anyhow, good night. I glance up at the 10.1-inch smart TV that is positioned over the fireplace in the adjacent sitting area. It is currently showing a digital fire log that replicates the actual fire that is blazing beneath it. I get up from the table and say, actually, I think we should skip dessert tonight. My heels click against the hardwood floor as I make my way to the TV. Everyone should see this. Sit down, Megan. The sharpness in my mother's voice that used to make me withdraw within myself in an attempt to be quieter, smaller, and less disruptive has returned. Not this evening. With my back to the room, I pause in front of the television. You have an unwavering faith in Sophia. To my own ears, my voice sounds weird. Be calm. Nearly conversational. However, have you forgotten my husband's occupation? Quiet. I look over at them. Senior cybersecurity analyst Jacob Harris. He is employed by a company that defends Fortune numchum businesses against data breaches. Isabella opens her mouth. Shuts down. Reopens. I fail to see the connection between that and anything. Do you not? I take my phone out of my hand and hold it up for them to see the screen. There are 3 glowing letters, right now, sent 18 minutes ago. Delivered. Behind me, the TV screen flickers. Sophia raises her head. She forgot her tears. What are you doing? The virtual log of the fire stops. For precisely 2 seconds, the screen becomes black. Then it illuminates once more, showing a completely new image. A desktop computer, background of blue. Neat folders arranged in rows. A little white writing that reads "Remote Access Activated" appears in the corner. What is this? Charles's voice has become harsh. Switch that off. This house's electrical system was created by me. I speak in a nice, almost conversational tone, as if I were talking about the weather. Were you aware of that? I was hired right out of graduate school by you. Paid me in family discount rates and publicity. Every sensor, camera, and smart system was set up by myself. I return my attention to the screen and see the movement of the cursor without any physical contact. Jacob is moat. Numchum miles away, working from our home office in Austin. His fingers gliding over keys. No changes were ever made to the admin password. I go on. I suggested that you alter it. Do you recall? That email was sent by me. Twice. William Moore leans forward. His face torn between dread and fascination. Ethan Carter had remained motionless next to Sophia, evidently considering the ramifications with his lawyer's mind. This is against the law. Well, Sophia's tone falters. This time, without tears. In a panic. It isn't, in fact. I avoid looking at her. The system administrator listed is me. I have complete legal access. All Jacob is doing is assisting me in getting my own files back. With her chair scraping the hardwood, Isabella gets to her feet. Documents? Which files? The screen's cursor shifts to a folder. Sophia gasps at the label. Project. The truth. When you said that I was just messing with plants for a living. Silently, I say. I'm an architect. In case you forgot, the architect's blueprint. 3 steps ahead is how we think. We create long-lasting systems. My dad's face is flushed. Without informing us, you had no right to install cameras in our house. I informed you. I speak in a level tone. A bonne-page guidebook was given to you. Everything was approved by you. The front door is equipped with a camera. One at the side door. The driveway is covered by one. Everything was revealed. Everything is lawful. Everything is captured on a top-notch NVR system. In your wine cellar. An NVR system. What is it? Isabella's voice has become softer. A network video recorder. At last I turn to face her. Cloud storage does not expire after 6 months. Physical hard drives are involved. Expert quality. 2-year data retention period. I saw Sophia's face lose its color. She gets it. The math is already being done by her, calculating the number of months in reverse. As she whispers, "You're bluffing." I look back at the screen. The folder is under the cursor. Sophia, do you recall Marchmost? I inquire. I sound nearly sweet when I speak. Tuesday was the day. Chilly. You had on your coat made of cream cashmere. At Muy Lama. The FedEx driver showed up. Put an end to it. Sophia raises her voice. Stop her, Mom. It was a blue package. I go on. Overnight express. Inside are 4 velvet boxes, encased in a ribbon of ivory. Invitations to my wedding. Ethan looks in Sophia's direction, as if it were his first time meeting her. Switch it off, Sophia yells. Make her turn it off, Mom. Isabella is frozen though. She kept her fingers over her throat. She fixed her gaze on the TV. In any case, it's too late. On my phone, I pressed enter. The signal is received by Jacob, who opens the folder. In flawless high definition, the initial image takes up the entire screen. A FedEx receipt. The signature line is readily apparent. Green. Sophia. In her characteristic looping handwriting, she signed. Date. Marchmost. Time. Muy Lama. Chaos breaks out in the dining room. I simply stand there. Though, I'm holding my phone, observing the disintegration of my sister's meticulously built world. And all I can feel is pristine, icy satisfaction. Sophia says right away. That's my signature. The frantic edge in her voice has faded. Changed to something flatter. I'm more hazardous. What the heck? I accepted a package. Other than the fact that I was at home that day. That doesn't prove anything. She's getting better. Quicker than I anticipated. I say, with a calm voice. Evidence 1. Clinical. As if I were showing designs to a challenging customer. On Marchmost, you accepted a box from Megan and Jacob Harris. Our wedding invitations were delivered overnight by FedEx 2 weeks later. I can't recall every package I signed for. Sophia folds her arms. We receive deliveries all the time. Every week, dozens of shipments are produced by my brand collaborations alone. However, Isabella straightens her posture. She seems to be clutching for this explanation, encircling it with her hands like a lifeline. It's accurate. Sophia's company needs to maintain its inventory constantly. It is unrealistic to expect her to recall a single, arbitrary delivery from 6 months ago. The cursor of Jacob moves across the screen. The screenshot of an email inbox takes the place of the receipt. The email inbox of my mother. Second piece of evidence, I say. Isabella's Gmail account settings are displayed on the screen. Filters. There is a lengthy list of them, organizing promotional emails and newsletters into different folders. However, one filter, denoted by a red flag icon, is at the top of the list. Name of the rule. Block for the wedding. I read out loud. Delete the subject permanently if it includes Megan and the wedding. Ignore the inbox. Avoid archiving. There, in gray lettering, is the creation date. March 2 days following the delivery of the invitations. The IP address used to install this filter can be traced back to Sophia's device. I go on. Specifically, her iPhone. She maintains her Instagram account on the same gadget. The ensuing quiet isn't tranquil. It's the sound of a trap closing. Isabella has a pale face. That isn't feasible. That's not what I ever approved. You didn't, of course. My mother's eyes contact mine. Your password is with Sophia. It has been with her for years. Do you recall last Christmas when she set up your two-factor authentication? It's for security, she said. Ethan gently gets out of his chair. He's gazing at Sophia as if he's never seen her before. You broke into your mom's email account? Nothing was hacked by me. Sophia's voice has a higher pitch. Mom asked me to assist in handling her correspondence, so I have access. The volume of emails overwhelms her. Every week, I oversee philanthropic relationships, Isabella says. Communications from the charity board. Sophia assists me in putting things in order. By clearing out emails pertaining to your daughter's nuptials. The voice of William Moore pierces the space. His posture has shifted, yet he is still seated in his chair. He is no longer the awkward bystander. He is now engaged and concentrated. Sophia jumps to her feet. The hardwood floor makes a scratching sound when her chair moves. All right. Indeed. In order to keep my parents safe, I concealed the invitations. It freezes in the room. She's changing course. Her expression changes from protective to irritated, and I see it unfold in real time. Tears well up in her eyes. She trembles, but not in terror. With just outrage. Those invitations were dispatched at the last minute. Her voice trembles as she goes on. Dad has high blood pressure for some dilapidated Texas vineyard. Mom worries about her image all the time. About people's opinions. Megan, I saw the place you selected. That look of a rustic barn. I was also terrified. Worried about being made fun of. Worried that they would worry about appearances the entire time. She uses the back of her hand to dab at her eyes. So the answer is yes. I kept them hidden. I tossed them aside. I did it because I loved you. I was attempting to keep our parents from feeling embarrassed. Isabella takes a deep breath. I see her face change. Watch her grab driftwood for this new story, as if she were drowning. Were you defending us? I was, of course. Sophia's tone falters. Megan seldom thinks about how her actions affect the family. She always does things her own way. I couldn't allow you to endure a mediocre wedding simply because she doesn't live up to our expectations. It's excellent. In a terrible manner. In just 30 seconds, she has transformed herself from a villain to a hero. The act of malice turns into a sacrifice for protection. The deception turns into love. Ethan furrows his brow. He doesn't believe it. His jaw tightens, and I can see the skepticism written on his face. My folks are already becoming more lenient though. They have already discovered the explanation they wish to accept. I'm not scared. I'm not angry. Sophia doesn't get satisfaction from watching me fall apart. Rather, I grin. It's a pitying smile. The sort you give a kid who is arguing that their homework was eaten by a dog while you can see the ripped papers in the trash. I repeat quietly, protecting them. Is that your tale? That's the reality. Sophia's chin goes up. So why? I say, carefully choosing my words. Rather than concealing the invitations in a drawer, did you dispose of them in the recycling bin? Sophia blinked. What? You would have concealed the invitations in a secure location, if you were concerned about your parents' feelings, and wanted to protect them. Somewhere you can get them later if you need them. In case your plan didn't work out, you would have taken care to preserve them. I point to the screen where the following file has already been queued by Jacob. But that's not what you did. Did you? Ethan glances across at Sophia. Take a close look at her. Did you? I was upset, replies Sophia hastily. I was having trouble thinking coherently. I find that intriguing because it appears from the video that you were thinking pretty clearly. I give the screen a nod. Jacob presses the play button. The quality of the video is amazing. The front door camera, which is positioned above the entry and provides an ideal view of the driveway and porch, has crystal clear footage. The timestamp is muy bon am, on March most. The FedEx truck comes into view. With a blue bundle in hand, the driver exits the vehicle. He presses the doorbell. 30 seconds later, Sophia shows up. She has her hair up in a high ponytail, and is dressed in yoga leggings and a cropped sweater. She accepts the gift, signs the tablet, and grins at the driver. The chauffeur departs. Sophia examines the package underneath. I watch as she reads the label with the return address. Jacob Harris and Megan. Her face shifts. The grin disappears. It is replaced with something sharp and chilly. She appears unconcerned. She doesn't appear to be defensive. She appears enraged. Sophia looks around to see if anyone is observing. She then proceeds to the side of the home, where a lovely lattice screen conceals the recycling bins. She doesn't pause, hesitate, or open the gift to see what's inside. She simply throws it in the trash can as if it were trash. It's likely that the 4 velvet boxes I had so meticulously wrapped crumbled upon impact. My hand-lettered invites probably wrinkled and bowed. She wipes her hands on her jeans and enters without turning around. The video concludes. There is silence in the dining room. The fire in the hearth seemed to be holding its breath as well. Ethan's expression is blank. Blank. Carefully. Purposefully. The look on someone's face as their whole future falls apart. I whisper. There's your protection. Your affection is there. The dining room is silent. Ethan's facial emotions change too quickly for me to identify. Perplexity. Knowledge. Disgust. My mother would recoil at the sound of his chair scraping the hardwood floor as he stands so suddenly. Did you discard your sister's wedding invitations? It's made worse somehow by the quietness of his voice. Because you didn't want to share the limelight? Sophia grabs his arm. Ethan, I can clarify. He recoils from her contact. Even though you knew she was married, you still handed her a book about dying alone. He's gazing at Sophia, as if he's never seen her before. Perhaps he is. A monster is not someone I can wed. It lingers in the air. Monster. Sophia wrinkles her face. She's always, but Ethan is already moving, so you don't get it. I'm shocked that the engagement ring doesn't bend when he removes it from her finger with such force. With a purposeful click that sounds like a gunshot, he sets the 2-carat diamond on the table after it has caught the chandelier light one more time. He declares, "We're done." My mom jumps up and down. Preston. Avoid hurrying. Sophia made an error, but surely. An error? Preston chuckles harshly. Your daughter tampered with the mail, Mrs. Green. She ruined the wedding of her own sister. She spent 6 months lying to me. He gives a head shake. I desired to wed into a morally upright household. I was obviously wrong about what I would discover here. Beside his kid, William Moore stands up, his face etched in stone. He turns to face my father, whose face has turned the color of old newspapers, and who hasn't left his seat. Charles. William's voice bears the weight of his 4 decades of professional experience. I've always thought that a man can't run a business if he can't run his home. Halfway to his mouth, my father's glass of bourbon stopped. Your daughter is dishonest. William points to Sophia. She is made possible by your wife. He glances at my mom, whose lips move silently in and out. You are also careless. His eyes return to my dad. Next month's merger project? Think of it as cancelled. The Green family will not do business with Moore Group. The words land like blows on the body. I see the last of the color fading from my father's face. His greatest accomplishment, the agreement that would solidify his career, was to be that merger. Contracts worth $40 million. A collaboration that would have increased the scope of his business. Absent. Please, William. At last my dad finds his voice. We can talk about this in private. Of course. There is nothing to talk about. William touches Preston's shoulder. We're heading out. Sophia leaps out of her seat. You are to blame for this. Her face contorted with anger, she spins around on me. Everything was damaged by you. I'll ruin you. I will tell everyone about your actions and manipulation. No. The word is soft, but it interrupts her in the middle of her statement. I smooth my clothing as I carefully stand up. No, you won't. Observe me. Sophia's voice becomes more and more hysterical. I have 1.5 million followers. I am aware that secret audio recording is illegal in Massachusetts. I speak in a casual, level tone. Thus, tonight's supper video remains confidential. I'm not going to publish it. Sophia's look changes to one of triumph, as if she had discovered a way out. But I take a moment to allow the words to sink in. Did you drop that FedEx package on camera? That is proof of tampering with federal mail. Title Muitam. The United States Code. Section Motnyin by Chum Latham. A maximum sentence of 5 years in federal prison. Sophia's face loses its color. The police and your business sponsors will be the targets of that video, and a lawsuit if you dare to say even one false thing about me on social media. I cock my head to examine her. I'm curious about Dior and Cartier's reaction to their ambassador being under investigation for federal offenses. Sophia collapses back into her chair. She makes a sound that is neither quite a scream nor quite a sob. It's the sound of someone's meticulously planned world coming crashing down. My mother sits frozen, her hands clutched in her lap. My father stares at the table like the wood grain holds answers. I reach for the cream-colored gift box, the one containing that horrible app membership, and that cruel book that I put on the table. I pick it up with both hands and walk around the table. Sophia flinches when I approach, like I might hit her. I place the box directly in front of her, right next to Preston's abandoned engagement ring. Keep it, I say. You need it more than I do now. The words taste like freedom. I turn toward William and Preston, who are already in the foyer, collecting their coats. As I pass William, he gives me a single nod. Respect, maybe. Or approval. It doesn't matter which. Behind me, I hear my mother's voice, thin and desperate. Megan, wait. We can fix this. We can. But I'm already walking. Through the foyer, past the marble staircase, where Sophia and I posed for Christmas photos as children, through the massive oak doors that close behind me with a final, definitive thud. The December air hits my face like cold water. Clean. Sharp. Real. My Uber is waiting at the bottom of the circular drive, exhaust puffing white in the freezing air. I climb into the back seat, and the driver glances at me in the rearview mirror. Logan Airport, I confirm. As we pull away, I allow myself one look back at the green estate. Every window blazes with light. But from here, it looks empty. A beautiful shell, with nothing living inside. I pull out my phone and video call Jacob. His face fills the screen, and the knot in my chest finally begins to unwind. His hair is messy, like he's been running his hands through it. His eyes search mine. Is it done? He asks. It's done. Mom's heating up soup for you. His smile is soft, warm, everything that house wasn't. Let's go home. Home. Not the place I was born, but the place where I'm loved. Yeah, I say, and my voice only shakes a little. Let's go home. 3 days later, I'm unpacking groceries in our Austin kitchen when the FedEx truck pulls up. Through the window, I watch the driver jog to the porch, scan a package, jog back. The box sits there on the welcome mat, square and flat. I know what it is before I open it. I can practically smell my father's desperation through the cardboard. Inside, a check. Bon nuit. Come. The number seems obscene. Written in my father's careful architect's print. The note is brief, typed on his business letterhead like this is just another transaction. I'm sorry, please stay silent about the contract. I stand there in my kitchen, holding bon nuit. Come. And I think about the girl who would have cashed this check. The one who showed up on Christmas Eve still hoping. The one who saved their chairs at her wedding. She's gone. I tear the check in half, then quarters, then confetti. My phone is already in my hand. I arrange the pieces on the granite counter, photograph them, open the family group chat. 3 people. Mom, Dad, Sophia. I type. I don't sell my silence. I'm gifting it to you for free. As a parting gift. Do not contact me again. My thumb hovers over the send button for maybe 3 seconds. Then I press it. The message shows delivered. Then read. Someone starts typing. Stops. Starts again. I don't wait to see what they'll say. I scroll to the top of the chat, tap the settings icon, and find the words I've been looking for. Leave group. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Leave. New Year's Eve arrives wrapped in Seattle rain, and the smell of Meredith's famous pot roast. Jacob's family crowds into their living room, laughing, arguing about what movie to watch before the countdown. His sister steals the remote. His nephew spills grape juice on the carpet. His mother hugs me tight, and I feel the weight of the sapphire brooch on her coat pressing against my shoulder. Real. Solid. An actual heirloom passed down with love instead of obligation. Come on, Jacob says, taking my hand. Let's get some air before the fireworks. We step onto the back porch. The Space Needle glows in the distance, and the city hums with celebration. Jacob wraps his arm around my waist, and I lean into him, breathing in rain and cedar and freedom. Any regrets? He asks quietly. I think about the empty chairs, the hidden invitations, the cruel gift, the check torn into pieces. Not one. The first firework explodes overhead. Gold sparks against black sky. Jacob's family cheers from inside. And through the window, I can see them raising glasses, pulling each other into hugs. I'm not the green daughter anymore. I'm Megan Harris, architect of landscapes and now, finally, architect of my own life. I cleared the weeds. I burned out the rot. And here, in this garden I chose, something real is growing. Domtat. Megan Green, standing in her family's cold, tense living room, grips a cream-colored box containing a lifetime VIP membership to Last Chance Love, an app for desperate singles over Bamui, along with a cruel book titled, How to Find Happiness When You Die Alone. Her sister, Sophia, smiles smugly, proud of the gift. as their mother, Isabella, urges Meghan to accept it. The tension in the room is palpable. With Meghan's father, Charles Green, quietly sipping bourbon and avoiding eye contact. But the real moment of change comes when Meghan, after years of being the good daughter and second best, finally snaps. She looks Sophia in the eye and calmly accepts the gift, ready to face her family's cold treatment head-on. As dinner progresses, Sophia continues her passive-aggressive behavior, questioning when Meghan will settle down and accusing her of living with plants forever. But Meghan, no longer willing to be the doormat, reveals that she has been married for 6 months, dropping the bombshell in front of the entire family. Her father, shocked and enraged, accuses her of not calling when the wedding invitations went unacknowledged. Meghan, however, stands firm. She reveals the evidence, FedEx receipts and emails showing that her parents had intentionally ignored her wedding, gaslighting her for months. As the chaos unfolds, Meghan presents a well-organized defense, holding up the cold, hard truth for all to see. The story culminates with Meghan, standing in her childhood home, a place filled with lies and manipulation, finally ready to break free. She leaves behind a family that failed to love or support her, walking out with the evidence of her rejection and a new resolve. The last blow comes when she receives a check from her father, an attempt to buy her silence. She tears it up, sends a final message to her family, and walks away, finding peace with Jacob Harris, her husband, in a new life, far away from the Green family. The weight of her past finally lifted. Meghan embraces a future built on her own terms, leaving behind a family that never truly saw her for who she was. My family rejected my marriage to the person I loved because he was poor. My father tried to sabotage his career. Now, my mother apologizes. My family rejected me because I married the wrong person. They want to go back in after meeting his parents. My father gave the ultimatum 4 weeks before my wedding. He called at 9 p.m. on a Thursday as I was sending invitations at my kitchen table, and his voice was icy and controlled, as if he'd already made a decision and wanted me to know it was definite. If you marry this man, you are no longer part of this family, he told you. There was no introduction or explanation, simply a straightforward remark that marked the end of 26 years as his daughter. I asked why, and he laughed. However, the sound lacked comedy and instead conveyed disgust. You understand exactly why, Sophie. We raised you better than this. We gave you every chance, sent you to the best schools, introduced you to the right people, and you chose to throw it all away for someone who works with his hands like common labor, someone whose family probably can't even afford to contribute to the wedding. It's embarrassing. The word hung in the air between us like poison. David and I first met 16 months ago at a community garden project where I was volunteering as part of my nonprofit job. He was establishing an irrigation system. His hands were coated in dirt as he explained to a group of elderly Vietnamese gardeners how to maintain the water pipes. He addressed them with care and respect, never speaking down or simplifying beyond what was required. When he grinned, his entire face changed. I previously dated investment bankers and lawyers, men my parents approved of. None of them had ever looked at anyone the way David did at the gardeners, as if their knowledge and expertise were as important as his technical abilities. My mother picked up the phone next. Her approach was different, softer, but more cutting. Sweetheart, your father and I just want what's best for you. You're making an emotional decision without thinking about your future. What happens when the novelty wears off and you're stuck with someone who can't provide the lifestyle you're accustomed to? What happens when you have children and realize you've trapped yourself in mediocrity? She used the word mediocrity, as if it were a diagnosis, a disease I'd contracted that she desperately wanted to cure. I informed them that David ran his own contracting business with 10 staff and consistent contracts, that he had put himself through technical school while caring for his younger sister, after their mother died, that he was nice and thoughtful, and made me happier than I had been in years. My father responded quickly and brutally. Then, you have made your decision. The call ended, and I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by half-addressed invitations, my hands shaking so badly that I couldn't hold the pen. Don't expect us at the wedding. Don't expect any financial support. Don't expect to be included in family events, or to have access to your trust fund. You've chosen him over us, so live with that. David returned home from a job site an hour later, and saw me still sitting there in the dark. He didn't inquire what had occurred. He simply drew me into his arms, and let me cry till nothing remained. When I eventually told him what my father had said, he stiffened his jaw but kept his voice calm. We don't need them. We'll build our own family better than the one you came from. My sister, Anna, called the next morning. She seemed cautious, as if she were negotiating a hostage situation. Dad's serious, Sophie. He's already changed his will. Mom's devastated. But she won't go against him. If you just postpone the wedding, give it a few more months, maybe they'll calm down and we can figure something out. I asked her why I needed to postpone my wedding to appease our parents' snobbery. She sighed, as if I were being purposefully difficult. Because they're family. Because Dad controls everything. Because you're making this harder than it needs to be. The following 4 weeks were spent in solitude. My parents returned the wedding invitation unopened. My brother Ryan quit returning my calls and texts. My aunts and uncles, who had always been friendly and present in my life, were suddenly too busy to meet for coffee. Only my cousin Laura contacted me, and she informed me that she had been instructed not to attend the wedding if she wanted to maintain her good standing with the family. She cried as she said it, but she did not come. When David's family learned what had transpired, they had diverse reactions. His father, Robert, a quiet man who owned a small restaurant supply business, arrived at our apartment with his wife, Linda, carrying containers of cooked food. "Family who treats you like this isn't family," Robert said in cautious English, his accent strong but his message obvious. "You have us now. We take care of our own." Linda held me, and I burst into tears again, overwhelmed by the simple acceptance of people I barely knew. The wedding took place on a Saturday afternoon, at a modest botanical park. 45 persons attended. None of them are connected to me by blood. David's extended family occupied 2/3 of the chairs. His sister Eva served as my maid of honor because I no longer had a sister willing to stand by my side. His cousin Chris escorted me down the aisle because my father had made it obvious that he regarded that honor cancelled. When the officiant asked whether anyone had any objections to the union, the silence felt rebellious, not awkward. We were surrounded by individuals who wished us happiness. Robert and Linda hosted the reception in their garden, which was decorated with string lights and mismatched tables obtained from neighbors. Someone's uncle played guitar, and Linda's sister managed the meal with military precision. David's grandmother, who knew no English, grabbed my hand and shouted something in Spanish that Eva interpreted as, "You're one of us now. We don't abandon our children for stupid reasons." The old woman's eyes were angry as she said it, challenging me to fight. I legally changed my name. Sophie Turner became Sophie Reyes. It felt like losing a skin that had never fit properly. My father had always made it clear that I was a Turner of the Connecticut Turners. As if our bloodline represented something more than old money and prejudices. Being a Reyes represented something different. It referred to unconditional acceptance and belonging without expectation of performance. He worked more, took on additional tasks, and insisted on paying for all of our bills, even though my severance would have helped. His pride was both laudable and annoying. I found new work at a different nonprofit, earning half of my old pay, and we adjusted. I ate out less, discontinued subscriptions, and learned to economize in ways that my background never required. It was equally humbling and clear. Month 17 of the marriage saw an unexpected development. David's company won a large contract to renovate a historic building downtown. The project would last 5 months and employ the majority of his crew full-time. He returned home with the signed contract and grabbed me up, whirling me around our small kitchen and laughing. "This changes everything," he explained. "This is the kind of work that leads to bigger contracts. We're going to be okay. Better than okay." The job continued smoothly until month 3, when David received a call from the property owner. There had been complaints filed with the city regarding permit irregularities. Nothing precise, just enough ambiguity to necessitate an investigation and briefly suspend the process. David spent 2 weeks dealing with inspectors and paperwork, ensuring that all permits were correctly filed and granted. The delays cost him both money and credibility. When the inspector ultimately cleared everything up, he stated that the concerns had come from an anonymous source who appeared to have intimate knowledge of the project timeline. David and I sat at our kitchen table that night, and I watched him connect the dots. His expression ranged from perplexity to comprehension to cold fury. "Your father did this," he explained. "It wasn't a question. I tried to deny it, to believe that my father wouldn't damage my husband's business out of spite, but I couldn't. It fit in well with his pattern of punishing those who defied him. He had cut me off financially. Now he was threatening David's livelihood. The message was plain. Choosing me resulted in consequences. I contacted my father's office the following morning. His assistant stated that he was unavailable. I called his cell phone, and it went straight to voicemail. I sent him an email directly inquiring if he was behind the permission concerns. The email bounced back with an automated response stating that his filters had blocked it. He had set his system to reject anything from my address. The premeditated savagery stole my breath away. When I dialed Anna's cell phone, she finally answered. She sounded exhausted. "Sophie, I can't be in the middle of this. Dad's made his position clear, and I have my own family to worry about. I can't risk making him angry." I asked if she was aware of the permit concerns. The silence before her response told me everything. "I don't know anything specific, but Dad warned that your husband's business tactics might not survive inspection. He stated it would be unfortunate if someone examined too closely." The confirmation came like a physical blow. My father was using his connections and resources to ruin David's business. Not because David had done anything wrong, but because simply punishing me monetarily was insufficient. He needed to showcase his power, to show that opposing him had escalating consequences. The petty nature of it was astonishing. The threat was real. David refused to be intimidated. He documented everything, hired a lawyer to analyze the complaints and his responses, and ensured that all future permission applications were excellent. The project concluded 2 months late and over budget, but it was completed. The building owner was pleased enough to issue a positive recommendation. Other clients admired David's professionalism under pressure, but the damage remained. The 2-month delay had prompted him to reject down other opportunities. His image in the sector suffered from murmurs concerning dependability and problems. The second year of our marriage proved more difficult. Money remained tight. I took a second part-time job writing grants from home. David worked 60-hour weeks in an effort to regain momentum. We were fatigued and stressed. And for the first time, I realized what my mother meant about novelty wearing off. Except that the novelty wasn't wearing off. It was battling sabotage and solitude while attempting to build a life together. We debated more. They struggled to find time for each other. I felt the weight of my family's rejection, in unexpected and devastating ways. Ramon and Linda provided consistent assistance. Sunday dinners at their place became a sanctuary. Linda's cooking, Ramon's gentle wisdom, and the easy fondness of David's extended family, who met every week to share food and stories. His grandmother would pat my hand and say things in Spanish that I was gradually coming to comprehend. Los árboles verdes, crescent, and tormentas. Strong trees develop during storms. I wanted to believe her. Month 23 saw a crisis. David fell from scaffolding on a job site, breaking his wrist and 3 ribs. The injuries were not life-threatening, but they prevented him from working for 5 weeks. His workforce could do lesser jobs under his leadership, but the business suffered. I watched him struggle with being sidelined, the anguish and fury, and the concern that this setback would exacerbate the harm my father had already done. His medical insurance covered the majority of the expenditures, but not all of them. We maxed up our credit card to pay the deficit. I swallowed my pride and called Ryan, informed him of David's accident, and asked if he might provide us with a short-term loan. We would repay him with interest as soon as David returned to work. Ryan remained motionless for a long time before saying, "I can't do that, Sophie. Dad will find out, and I can't afford to be on his bad side right now. I'm sorry, but you made your decisions, and you have to live with them." He hung up before I could reply. The betrayal went deeper than my father's initial rejection. Ryan and I had been close growing up. He was the one who taught me how to ride a bike, helped me with my math assignments, and stood up to bullies in middle school. He was now refusing to help when I really needed him since our father's approval was more important than our connection. The transactional character of my birth family's love became impossible to ignore. We made it through David's recovery thanks to a combination of savings, side job I took up, and a loan from Ramon, which he insisted was a gift rather than a loan. "Family helps family," he replied cautiously, refusing to share payback details. Linda brought food 3 times a week. Eva organized a meal train with other family members. They surrounded us with practical support, and never once made us feel like a burden. The contrast with my own family's abandonment was clear and unambiguous. David recovered and returned to work with a passion that bordered on obsession. He rebuilt his firm through sheer willpower, doing tasks that other contractors would not touch, working harder than anybody else, and demonstrating his dependability time and over until the whispers of troubles subsided. The third year of our marriage was more monetarily successful, but the emotional toll of the previous 2 years remained. We made it out alive, but the incident had changed us. I discovered I was pregnant in month 38. On a Sunday morning, the test came back positive, and I sat on the bathroom floor for 20 minutes, crying, before telling David. When I eventually showed him, he drew me in and said, "This is going to be amazing. We're going to be amazing parents, better than the ones you came from." I wanted to believe him, but my anxiety was overwhelming. My parents had abandoned me. What if I wasn't sure how to be a better parent? What if their poison affected me in ways I couldn't detect? Linda hosted a baby shower for me in her backyard, which was filled with David's extended relatives. Women I barely knew offered gifts, advice, and personal stories about their pregnancies and children. His grandmother held my developing belly and prayed in Spanish for the baby's health and happiness. It was humbling to receive love from folks I had known for less than 4 years. I thought of my mother, who hadn't contacted in 3 years, didn't realize she was going to be a grandma, and had chosen pride over relationship. I sent my parents a letter announcing the pregnancy, not because I expected them to care, but because I wanted proof that I had tried. That when this child inquired as to why they did not know their maternal grandparents, I could honestly reply that I had made an effort only to be rejected. The letter was returned marked, "Returned to sender," in handwriting that I recognized as my mother's. She'd gotten it and returned it unopened. The message was clear. I was dead to them, as was their grandchild. Anna called back 2 weeks later. "Mom's upset that you told other people about your pregnancy before telling family." I cracked a joke. A sharp noise that surprised us both. I attempted to tell her. She returned my letter unopened. She made her decision. Anna sighed. She wasn't sure what was in the envelope. She assumed it was another attempt to guilt-trip them about the wedding. "You should try calling." I questioned why I should be the one making an effort when I had been cut off for liking the wrong person. Anna had no response. Our daughter, Maya, was born on a Wednesday, in April. 8 pounds, 6 ounces, perfect, healthy, and ours. David cried as they placed her in his arms. Linda and Robert arrived at the hospital within hours. His grandmother embraced Maya and cried, murmuring blessings in Spanish. Eva took almost 1,000 photographs. The waiting room was full with David's family members celebrating his new life. My family stayed conspicuously missing. I made one more attempt. I sent my parents a birth announcement with Maya's photo and information. This one was not returned, and there was no response either. The quiet remained unbroken. My daughter will grow up not knowing half of her genetic family, because they felt her father wasn't good enough. The injustice made me literally ill on certain days. On other days, I was relieved that Maya would never have to experience their conditional affection. Motherhood consumed the following year. Maya was colicky and demanding, and I loved her with a ferocity that scared me. David was a hands-on father who changed diapers at 3 a.m. When she couldn't sleep, I would walk the floor with her. We were fatigued, broke, and happier than we had been since our wedding. Linda showed me how to cook traditional meals. Robert made Maya's cot with his own hands. The family who had accepted me proceeded to shower us with practical affection. In our 4th year of marriage, David's business finally earned a profit. The historic building project had resulted in 3 more improvements. His reputation had regained. He hired 2 more staff, and rented a professional office space, rather than working from our flat. We moved into a little house, with a yard for Maya to play in. Nothing lavish, but ours. Built on his efforts and my commitment, uninfluenced by my father's money or approbation. Maya was 18 months old when she received the call on Saturday morning. I nearly ignored an unfamiliar phone number. When I answered the phone, Anna's voice sounded weird. "Sophie, I need you to listen." Without hanging up, "Something's happened, and Mom wants to talk to you." I inquired what had happened and why she thought I'd care after 4 years of silence. Anna's voice sank to a whisper. "Just please, she needs to talk to you." When my mother answered the phone, her voice was different, smaller in some ways. She inquired how I was doing, and I replied that I was fine, waiting for the true reason she had called. She inquired about David and Maya. I responded minimally. Finally, she stated, "I saw David's parents last week at a charity gala. Linda, who runs a foundation that provides meals to food-insecure families, and Robert, who apparently sits on the hospital board and has been a major donor for years, were presenting a substantial check to a children's hospital. They were receiving an award for their community service." Her words were stilted, as if she were reading from a script she hadn't written. I felt something chilly creep into my chest. "So, you're calling because you realized Robert and Linda Reyes are philanthropists, That they're the kind of people you consider respectable? Is that what it takes for you to acknowledge I exist? My mother tried to cut me off, but I kept going. You cut me off because you believed David came from nothing, and that his family was inferior to yours. Now you find out they give away more money than you spend on country club fees, and suddenly I'm worth talking to again. My mother's tone became defensive. We didn't know. If you'd told us about his parents' background, things might have been different. The comment was so ludicrous that I started laughing. His parents' background. You mean Robert immigrated at 23 with $500 and built a successful business through 40 years of hard work? Or Linda came from a family that lost everything and rebuilt it? You mean those backgrounds, which you never bothered to learn about because you were too busy being embarrassed by David working with his hands. She explained that my father wanted to meet with us, that they had made a mistake, and that they wanted to rebuild the relationship. I inquired what had changed in 4 years. Aside from her social discomfort at discovering Robert and Linda's philanthropic activity. She couldn't give me a response that didn't sound cold and hollow. I hung up after telling her I needed time to process. I sat on my couch, staring at nothing, while Maya played with blocks at my feet, completely unaware of the earthquake that had just shattered my life. David returned home from a hardware shop run, and discovered me still sitting there. When I narrated the call, his expression went through a range of emotions, before landing on a firm distrust. So, they want back in now that they know my parents aren't who they thought they were. Now that they've realized cutting you off might have been a miscalculation, he joked. Miscalculation, as if it were profanity. I nodded, hesitant to trust my own voice. We chatted for hours after Maya went to bed, working through my anger and sadness, as well as my conflicted desire to reunite with my family, despite the fact that they didn't deserve it. David was explicit about his boundaries. If we do this, if we open that door, it's on our terms. They apologize to both of us. They acknowledge what they did was wrong. They meet my parents properly, and treat them with respect. And if they slip even once, we walk away and don't look back. I agreed. But privately wondered if my parents were capable of genuine apology or if this was just another manipulation. I contacted my mother back 4 days later, and informed her that David and I would meet with them, but there were certain conditions. She accepted too fast without questioning what the terms were. And I realized it was more about avoiding social disgrace than truly healing ties. We agreed to meet at a neutral restaurant the following Sunday. My tummy was churning with anxiousness all week. Sunday dawned cold and gray. David wore a suit he'd purchased expressly for this occasion, refusing to give my parents a reason to critique his appearance. We arrived 5 minutes early, and they were already sitting at a corner table. My father had aged in 4 years, with new lines around his eyes and mouth. My mother appeared brittle in a way I didn't recall. Anna was also present, perhaps serving as a buffer or witness. The first 10 minutes were spent in agonizing small conversation. My father asked about Maya in the same tone that individuals use when checking a box on a list. My mother complimented on the restaurant's decor. Anna glanced at her water glass, as if it could afford her escape. The assumption that their comfort was more important than accountability led me to delete the message halfway through. I did not call back. Anna arrived at my residence 4 days later without contacting first. I opened the door to see her standing on my porch, unhappy. Can we talk? I invited her in, and made tea as she sat at my kitchen table. Maya was napping upstairs. The house was silent save for the kettle's whistle. Anna put her hands around her mug and murmured, "I've been a coward. I watched them treat you like garbage, and said nothing because I was scared. I chose my trust fund and Dad's approval over my sister. I'm sorry." The apology had a different impact than my parents' attempts at reconciliation. Anna's voice shook with genuine regret. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying before her arrival. I sat opposite from her and inquired, "Why now? What has changed for you?" She shook her head. "I watched you walk out of that restaurant. You were so forceful and clear about what you deserved. I realized I've been weak my entire life. I've let Dad control everything because it's easier than standing up to him. But it's cost me you. And it's cost Maya her relationship with her aunt." We spoke for 2 hours. She informed me about life in the family after I left. Ryan had become more strict, in an attempt to be the perfect son to fill the void I had left. My parents spoke about me in clinical terms, as if I were a problem that could be fixed by letting go. How the holidays felt hollow in my absence. She cried, as she described seeing Maya through mutual friends' social media posts. Knowing she had missed the first 18 months of her niece's existence, because she was too terrified to defy our parents. I asked her what she wanted now, and she said, "Honestly, I want my sister back. I want to know Maya. I want to stop being the person who chose money and approval over love. I know I don't deserve it after standing by for 4 years, but I'm asking anyway." I looked at this woman who'd been my closest friend growing up, who'd abandoned me when I needed her, and who was now asking for a chance I wasn't sure I could give. Maya began crying upstairs. I went to retrieve her, and when I returned with my kid on my hip, Anna's face crumpled. "She looks like you did at that age." I let Anna hold Maya and observed my sister's cautious kindness with this niece she was meeting for the first time. Maya looked at Anna with the same distrust that toddlers have of strangers. But she did not cry. After a few minutes, she reached for Anna's jewelry, and Anna giggled, which I hadn't heard in years. I advised her, "If you want back in, it has to be real. You can't disappear again if Dad gets angry. You can't choose their approval over showing up for Maya. She deserves better than conditional family." Anna looked at Maya and nodded. "I understand. I'll prove I'm serious for as long as it takes." She began coming over every Sunday afternoon. At first, I kept a close eye on her, watching for signals that she'd return to the safety of our parents' approval. But she kept turning up, bringing age-appropriate toys, learning Maya's routine and preferences, and inquiring about my life with genuine curiosity. We slowly and gently rebuilt trust. My parents' attempts to reunite persisted. My father sent flowers with a card that said, "Family forgives." I returned them with a message that stated, "Family doesn't abandon." My mother called regularly until I blocked her number. They arrived at Robert and Linda's restaurant one evening, evidently hoping to run into us. But Robert gently informed them that we were not present, and that they were not welcome to wait. The attempted manipulation via numerous avenues was taxing. Ryan contacted after 6 weeks of radio silence from me. He said that our parents were hurt and puzzled by my failure to reconcile, that they had made a sincere attempt, and that I was being stubborn. I inquired if he remembered refusing to lend me money after David was hurt. The stillness on his end was prolonged. Finally, he stated that it was different. Dad had stated his position clearly. I told him that was exactly the issue. Our parents' positions had always been more important than our relationships, and I was tired of living with conditional affection. David's business continued to grow. He was awarded a contract for a new medical building that would take 8 months and employ 15 people. The irony was not lost on us. My father attempted to undermine David's career, but instead pushed him to become more cautious, professional, and driven. Obstacles had made him stronger. David recruited a company manager and a qualified accountant, relocated to a larger office, and began rejecting down lesser tasks to focus on larger projects. Success felt sweeter, because we earned it despite the sabotage, not because of familial ties. Year 5 of our marriage brought unexpected changes. Ramon had a health scare that landed him in the hospital for 1 week. David and I visited on a daily basis, along with what seemed to be his entire extended family. Ramon's relatives were always present in the waiting room, bringing food, telling stories, and supporting Linda through her worries. My parents never visited anyone in the hospital unless it was socially necessary. The contrast and how these two families operated couldn't have been more obvious. Robert recovered and redoubled his charitable efforts. Linda joked that she had created a monster, but her eyes shone with pride. I learned more about their history during those weeks, how Robert worked 3 jobs while growing his business, how Linda began cooking for elderly neighbors and grew it into a charity that now serves thousands, how they gave back to the community that provided them with opportunities. Their riches was enormous, yet they wore it softly, emphasizing impact over appearance. My mother arrived at my place unexpectedly one Saturday morning. David was on a job site. Maya and I were preparing pancakes when the doorbell rang. I answered the door, and there she was. Well-dressed and meticulously made up, but visibly uneasy. "I need to talk to you," she said. I almost shut the door, but something about her expression stopped me. I invited her in, but did not provide coffee or comfort. She sat at my kitchen table as Maya ate pancakes with serious focus, dripping syrup everywhere. My mother looked